clearly this has been a thread that we've talked about in almost every session. And the question is that in order to get IoT devices into the many places throughout an MDU that will be beneficial to us, this seems to be a foundational step. So let's do some introductions for our other member here on the panel. Josh has already introduced himself. Steve, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company?
I am Steve Yonke, Director of IT for Continental Properties. We're located in Wisconsin. We are a national multifamily developer. We do 3 business lines, and we are on a pace to do about 4,500 units this year, and we keep increasing that number, so it's been a busy time for us. So.
And you are currently a customer of Dish.
We are.
Okay, so we're going to be able to talk today about what Steve has seen in their company and how they're using Dish and the benefits that they're seeing as a customer, and talk about challenges, talk about benefits, talk about alternatives, and try to dive a little bit deeper into this, looking from both the vendor and from an owner, operator, builder type of position. So first off, let's talk about what are the benefits and advantages that have come to you as you're bundling the connectivity and audiovisual through a vendor like Dish.
If we don't have that infrastructure, that managed secure infrastructure, we can't do any of this smart home stuff. We're trying to find ways to save money, finding ways to get everybody connected, and that's the first thing. It's the customer experience, though, on our end. They walk in and it's hot, it's ready to go. They can go anywhere they want. And then on top of it, with the TV bundling, we have lots of customers who went to streaming. I think everybody's streaming something, and the biggest problem we have right now is what provider am I using for streaming? Is it YouTube TV? Is it Amazon Prime? Is it some other, whatever form? We've got a nice package from Dish that's included, and it's a nice simple package, easy to use, works great, and the customers are saving a ton of money.
So how long ago did you kind of make this transition to managed Wi-Fi in every single property?
So we started probably, I want to say about 5 years ago, I started looking at broadband communities for some provider that could actually handle this type of service. And I tried a couple of other providers that weren't bad, but I really wanted to have a really big company with a big footprint that could have that customer service and the white glove service. And probably about 3 years ago, Josh, we just sold our first property that we did with you, so.
Yeah, which we can talk about later, but I think it increased your sale price, but
oh yeah,
don't want to get any of your top secret information out.
Right.
And so there's kind of a spectrum. We've talked about this is managed Wi-Fi. Beforehand, we were talking about there's property-wide Wi-Fi. Can you tell us a little bit of the difference, Josh, between the two, and maybe why is it that you want to go all the way, and with the benefits that come with managed Wi-Fi?
Yeah, that's a really good point to bring up early in the discussion. There's a lot of providers out there that have property-wide Wi-Fi, which is a good service. It allows an entire property to have Wi-Fi wherever you go. But the big difference with the managed Wi-Fi is it meshes the entire network together, and when we install it, we actually use smart hardware, so smart devices. We put smart switches in every single residence unit. So that reports back to a network operations center in the background that monitors that network, and you can see all the activity down to the unit level or to the common area level, and you can see the bandwidth that's being used. You can see if the bandwidth is appropriate for the structure. You can see if there's any issues. So if
you're not seeing what they're doing, but just seeing how much data they're consuming.
Yeah, correct. Okay. From a PII perspective. No, it's not showing what websites they're on, but it's showing that here's what's happening down to the hour and minute of the day.
We just resolved this issue, right?
Yeah.
In one of our properties, we had an issue where they were able to come to us and say there was some crazy activity going on, and it was that simple, that fast. So.
And you were able to go to a grandmother who was downloading 25 petabytes of data, right?
A month.
A month.
It was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so from the monitoring perspective, but also just for the performance. So we've had situations where, let's say an access point, an individual unit goes down. So on a managed network, it will automatically self-heal and pick up one of the other access points in that area. So from the resident perspective, they don't even realize anything's wrong. And then meanwhile, in the back end, because it's managed, they can remotely reset that access point to turn off and basically do a reset and start over. So you can manage it that way. And the other thing is you have the ability to create multiple networks. So, and I'd mentioned in the intro, for someone who has a smart community and they want, let's say they want door locks set up, smart door locks, or they want to put leak detectors, or they get really advanced and get into hooking up their appliances, we can create a network only for that, just for those devices. And then it can be monitored and managed separately versus off the general ecosphere.
It's not one that's broadcast, but you can connect to it, and then it can keep the traffic on those devices separate and inaccessible from the other networks.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, terrific. Okay. So these are some of the benefits of bundling. Well, we can talk a little bit, the audio visual as well, I think you talked about. So yeah, let's move on and talk about quantifying the value. You showed on the video, it kind of feels like you're having your cake and eating it too, that your residents are paying less than what they would have paid through other solutions, but as an owner-operator, you're making more revenue. Is that definitely the case? Is that what you've seen in what you've deployed?
Absolutely. I can tell you that the numbers that Josh had were extremely reflective of what we are seeing. There's other values besides just that big number that you get from the residents on a monthly basis. It's customer satisfaction because of their customer service outstanding. It's for us, because we build so many projects every year, we've worked with them to go complete soup to nuts all the way from the front to the back. So I have that ongoing value. I have one throat to choke. That's a big term that we like to use, and it's easy to go back. Yeah.
So value to the resident, that the resident sees value that, hey, I'm actually paying less than what I maybe paid at the last place I was staying. The internet's likely faster, it's likely more comprehensive throughout the entire property. The managing group is seeing benefits because now it enables and unlocks the opportunity to deploy many other devices on the network that improve operational efficiencies, that provide a better customer experience. And then to the ownership group, it sounds like you guys had a transaction. There was value that was captured there as well because you had that within the property.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say the resident experience on day one when they're moving in, one of the big features of it is being instant on. So how it works is the resident walks in day one, the property management goes into a system, puts their email in and their unit number and their name, and they get an encrypted email sent to them. They just click on the link, change their password, and now they have access to their account, but now their internet is on. So before they even sometimes enter into their unit for the first time, they're still in the lobby, they already have it turned on and they already are to go to work, and they also have access to their TV immediately. And then from the property management, that's great because now they're not messing around when someone moves in and they're saying, okay, I got to figure out what my internet provider is. I need to get a modem. In some cases, they have to roll a truck and then they have to get it installed. They may not have service right away. So now the management's super hands-off and the resident has a really seamless experience.
So to get even into more detail on that, there's a publicly visible Wi-Fi network. They get the email. Is that they're getting a kind of a unique password that they use on that they can use on their phone, they use on their TV, any other devices, and that recognizes that it's part of that account? Is that how it works? Or it's a universal password, and then the next thing that pops up is they kind of have a login and password?
It's an actual encrypted password.
Okay.
So if someone, the Management doesn't even see what that password is. It's only for the resident. And then they have that encrypted, and then they change it the first time.
And then they can use that on any of the devices they want to be able to connect to that particular network.
That is correct.
Slick. All right. So one of the other things that we talked about prior to this is that Dish provides a lot of flexibility that if you're trying to shift the cost of this over to capex, and I know that there's some of you out here that's a preference. Others want to shift those costs over to opex, that you have a solution both ways. Who wants to talk about this first?
Do
you want to cover what you guys are doing today?
Sure. So we have had the flexibility, and we've changed it a little bit with our program. There's all the different important pieces. It's, installing conduit, it's laying the fiber, it's doing the boxes in the units, setting up the, wherever you're going to have your IDFs, things like that.
And what's an IDF?
Intermediate
distribution
facility, okay. Correct. Rather than main distribution facility, which is typically located in our clubhouse. So we take a little bit of our network room there. And
sidetracked you.
Yeah. So one of our big issues that we've had is we haven't included this type of revenue in our pro forma, as our CEO has been concerned with competing things that we're going to talk about later. And we finally proved to him, hey, this is real money, this is coming in, and we are going to then start moving more of our spend into the capex so that we can see a larger revenue even still.
Gotcha. So it'll kind of progress as you're working on additional projects. That the opex opportunity gives you a chance to deploy it quicker, but then as you're seeing that revenue come in, then you can start shifting that revenue to do more capex installations.
Yeah, and it was a little bit of a tough transition for our construction folks as they're getting numbers because of the way ISPs traditionally did it. Hey, we'll do all this, but we're going to take all the money.
Right.
Well, we're the middleman now, and we're taking a lot of that revenue stream.
So if you've got someone, perhaps here in the room, that wants to explore these options, what does that look like for them?
Yeah, so there's no real right answer on the financial model. It's different for different companies and what they're trying to do. But we have the ability to completely finance a project. So if someone's, especially when we talk more about retrofitting and other things, if someone doesn't want to invest that money up front, we can build that into a financial model. So we will go site survey a property, we get super granular, we AutoCAD a whole design, we figure out an entire bill of materials down to every screw that's used in every line of cable, a statement of work, so all the resources from a labor perspective that are required to install it. And then we put it together as, here's your upfront CapEx model. We can just build that into the financial model, so it's zero cost to get started, which a lot of people are doing on the existing properties. But on some of the greenfield or the building, the new construction, there's some creative ways to do it as far as wrapping it into your loan, the way you tax benefit it in order to pay it up front, and then you get a much lower monthly price. So then you dramatically increase your margins because then it's being financed that way. And so we have that option. And then there's kind of a hybrid. So from an installation perspective, there's a little bit what we're doing with Continental where we're installing parts of it, but not quite all of it. So they have your general contractors. We'll install, we were just using the term IDF, which is a distribution center within, and we'll maybe do the installation to there, but then Continental will take the wiring and run it because they're already doing it in their walls to the unit, in the unit, and then we'll just come in the end and hook up the access point to everything they've already installed and test it and make sure it works.
Yeah, and we have, I think right now, as we speak, we have 22 properties that are under construction. And that amount of oversight and management is just, I don't have time to do all of that. And they work directly with my construction team, and they take it right from there, right from the beginning, right from, even before we break ground.
So they become just an extension of your construction team to whatever extent you want them to, whether it's the whole kit and caboodle or whether you want it just to run to the ID.
Yeah, and we've set up, we identified right up front, hey, these are your main points of contact. These are all your project managers. These are the on-site folks. They meet with the general contractors and the low voltage guys right away. And, it's been, I won't say it's been seamless, but it's been a very good experience.
Yeah, I mean, there's one of the projects, I live in Denver, and we have a project out by Denver Airport. And I was actually out on site recently, sitting down with our installation team and deployment team, reviewing the property line by line, looking at everything. I actually had my hard hat on, which was great. Didn't quite have the right footwear though. I got my shoes pretty dirty, but that it's on site. It's meeting directly with the contractors and walking through it step by step.
Okay. All right, so flexibility there, opportunity to see bids before you sign anything to really kind of understand what you're getting into.